Once upon a time, near a large forest lived a woodcutter with his wife, who had only one child, a little girl of 3 years old. However, they were so poor that they no longer had bread for their daily needs and didn't know how to find food for her. One morning, the woodcutter went to the forest in sorrow to begin his work, and while he was cutting wood, a tall and beautiful woman suddenly appeared before him. She wore a crown of shining stars and said to him, "I am the Virgin Mary, the mother of Jesus. You are poor and in need. Bring me your child, and I will take her with me. I will be her mother and care for her." The woodcutter obeyed, brought his child, and handed her over to the Virgin Mary, who took her to heaven with her. There the child was well cared for. She ate sugar cakes, drank sweet milk, wore golden clothes, and played with little angels. When she reached the age of 14, the Virgin Mary called her and said, "Dear child, I am about to go on a long journey. I leave you with the keys to the 13 doors of heaven. You may open 12 of them and see the glory within, but the 13th door, which this small key unlocks, is forbidden. Be careful not to open it, or you will be unhappy." The girl promised to obey, and after the Virgin Mary had left, she began to explore the heavenly dwellings, opening one door each day. In each of the 12 rooms sat one of the apostles amidst great light, and the girl delighted in the magnificence and splendor, along with the little angels who always accompanied her. Finally, only the forbidden door remained, and she felt a strong desire to see what lay behind it. She said to the angels, "I will not open it completely, nor will I enter, but I will unlock it so we can see a little through the crack." "Oh no," said the angels, "that would be a sin. The Virgin Mary has forbidden it, and it might bring you sorrow." The girl was silent, but her curiosity tormented her and left her restless. One day when the angels had gone out, she thought, "Now I'm all alone, and I could take a peek. No one would know." She took the key, inserted it into the lock, and turned it. The door sprang open, and she saw the Holy Trinity in fire and splendor. She gazed at it in amazement and lightly touched the divine fire with her finger, which instantly turned golden. A great fear seized her. She slammed the door shut and ran away. But her fear did not leave her, no matter what she did. The golden mark on her finger remained, no matter how much she scrubbed or washed it. When the Virgin Mary returned from her journey, she called the girl and asked for the keys of heaven back. When the girl handed them over, the Virgin looked into her eyes and said, "Did you not open the 13th door as well?" "No," the girl replied. The Virgin Mary touched her heart and felt it beating fast, and she knew the girl had disobeyed. "Are you certain?" she asked again. "Yes," the girl lied once more. Then the Virgin Mary said, "You have disobeyed me and lied. You are no longer worthy to remain in heaven." The girl fell into a deep sleep, and when she awoke, she found herself on the earth below, in the middle of a wilderness. She tried to cry out, but no sound came from her lips. She tried to run, but thick hedges of thorns blocked her way. In the barren desert, she found an old hollow tree, which became her home. There she slept at night, but it was a miserable existence. She wept bitterly, remembering how happy she had been in heaven and how the angels had played with her. Her only food was roots and wild berries, which she gathered as far as she could venture. In autumn, she collected fallen nuts and leaves to use as food and shelter for the winter. She lived like a small, helpless animal, shivering in the cold. Over time, her clothes tore apart, and she was left nearly naked. However, her golden hair grew long and covered her like a mantle. She lived like this for many years, suffering the pain and hardship of the world. One day, when the trees were once again covered in fresh green leaves, the king of the country came hunting in the forest. He followed a roe deer into the thicket and, dismounting his horse, cut his way through the dense undergrowth with his sword. At last, he came upon the girl sitting under the tree, her golden hair covering her like a cloak. Amazed by her beauty, the king asked, "Who are you, and why are you sitting here in the wilderness?" But she could not speak. The king asked again, "Will you come with me to my castle?" She nodded slightly in response. The king lifted her onto his horse and took her back to his castle. There, he had her dressed in fine garments and provided for her needs. Although she remained silent, her beauty and grace touched the king's heart, and he soon married her. A year later, the queen gave birth to a son. That night, the Virgin Mary appeared to her and said, "If you admit that you opened the forbidden door, I will return your speech to you. But if you continue to deny it, I will take your newborn child away." The queen remained stubborn and denied opening the door. The Virgin Mary took the child from her arms and vanished. The next morning, when the baby could not be found, the people whispered that the queen had eaten her own child. Though the queen could not speak to defend herself, the king refused to believe the rumors. Another year passed, and the queen bore a second son. Once again, the Virgin Mary appeared to her and gave her the same choice. The queen denied the truth, and the Virgin Mary took her second child as well. The rumors of the queen's cruelty spread even further, but still, the king did not waver in his love for her. When the queen gave birth to a daughter the following year, the Virgin Mary appeared once more and led her to heaven, where her two sons were happily playing with the ball of the world. The Virgin Mary asked the queen, "Is your heart still hard? If you confess, I will return your sons to you." But the queen denied opening the door for the third time. The Virgin Mary sent her back to earth and took her third child as well. The queen's suffering was great, and when she was put on trial, she was sentenced to be burned at the stake. As the flames surrounded her, she finally repented, crying out, "Yes, Mary, I opened the door." Instantly, the flames were extinguished by rain from heaven, and the Virgin Mary appeared with the queen's 3 children. She said, "Those who repent and confess their sins will be forgiven." She returned the children to the queen, restored her speech, and blessed her with happiness for the rest of her life.